President, and I want to welcome you all back to the next session of this conference. Can I remind you to ensure that your mobile phone is switched off, silent or on vibrate, and please remember that flash photography is not allowed. Take a few moments to check the location of your nearest fire exit, keep your personal belongings with you, and do not leave your bags unattended in the conference centre. They will be removed. And follow the venue instructions in the event of an emergency. Conference, can I remind you that chairs have been set out in order to support our delegates with reasonable adjustments? Can we ensure that we do not move any of these chairs around? Can I also urge delegates to think of the delegates using the loop system and take care not to shout into the microphone or thump the rostrum when they're speaking. The echo and vibration is magnified for the loop system users, and we want to avoid anything causing them discomfort or pain. And also, can I ask delegates to please not walk in front of the signers. Conference, before we continue with this afternoon's order of business, we will resume where we left off this morning. The debate on Motion 9, Increasing Participation of Low-Paid Women in UNISON, submitted by Belfast Education Branch. Can I now call on the next speaker against Motion 9, please?
Thank you. My name is UNISON. I'm from London region.
Our next speaker needs little introduction. It gives me pleasure to introduce Angela Rayner MP. Angie will be known to so many of you because Conference Angie is one of us. As she often says herself, Angie was born in Stockport, but she was raised in UNISON. From a proud care worker, Angie is a strong UNISON woman, and we are so proud of her political successes, but even prouder that she has never forgotten her roots and her UNISON background. Angie, you're very welcome.
Conference, and thank you, Catherine, for that introduction and inviting me to speak today. And can I start by saying what an honour it is to follow such amazing UNISON women in the last debate. Conference, UNISON is and always will be my union family. But like all families, we have our ups and downs. But we are still family, one united in our commitment to a fairer future. So I pay tribute to every rep and activist working towards that goal. I know we have a team leading with passion, experience and commitment to our members. So along with Catherine, our president, let me thank James, who I've known a long time, in our young member days, our senior vice president, Debbie, our junior vice president, and of fantastic general secretary. Now, conference, I know I'm not exactly a first-time speaker here. I first joined UNISON as a care worker, I think it was about 25 years ago. I was elected as a delegate from Stockport Local Government Branch 0648 in the Young Members Group. Now that was a few years ago, but I still remember my first National Delegate Conference. It was a bit of a shock. In those days, I thought that compositing was what you did in an allotment. I thought that a standing orders was what you had waiting at your local pub. And I remember my first UNISON Young Members Weekend, when we called for votes at 16. I wasn't told to stay in my lane, I wasn't told I was talking too much, and I wasn't told that my opinion didn't count. For me, UNISON was the place where respect was given to me and to others. I owe each and every one of you a debt of thanks. And as the President said, I always say I was born in Stockport, but I was raised in UNISON. I wouldn't be able to stand in front of you today and deliver a speech like that if I hadn't started off, like many of those delegates did then, speaking up for my rights as a low-paid worker. But 2 decades later, as your Deputy Prime Minister, I was proud to propose the law giving young people the vote. If UNISON made me a rebel, you made me a rebel with a cause. And today, our values are every bit as relevant as they were at any time before. This movement taught me that it's not about yourself, it's about us, the collective, a cause of our movement that has always been to secure for workers the fruits of their labour. This is not an idea of the past. Driving living standards for working class people should be a mission of a Labour government. It is a government that has done many good things that bring about that change. But let's be honest, I'm under no illusions that people are queuing up to thank us. We have made mistakes. People have turned to populists and nationalists because all we have done has not been to fix the crisis that they face. And they're impatient for the change. And so are you. And so am I. Living standards are barely higher than they were a decade and a half ago. Growth isn't just low, it also fails to benefit most people, places and businesses. Yet when the people have more money to spend in their local high street, businesses have higher revenues. In turn, they can hire more workers and a community prospers. That's not just morally right, it's economically right too. The test for us is to show that we can run a government that delivers it by standing up to the vested interests that are ripping us off. Because for too long, Britain has been on the wrong path, a path that has damaged communities and drained away power from ordinary people. Once again, working class people are paying the price for decisions that they did not make and the crises that they did not cause. The deindustrialisation of the 1980s, the deregulation and the privatisation, the financial crash, the austerity, Brexit, COVID. We've seen the banks bailed out, energy companies posting record profits, the water companies that were flogged off paying huge bonuses to their executives. And for too long, governments have allowed wealth and power to concentrate at the top without a plan to ensure that the benefits of economic growth are shared fairly. The result, conference, is an economy that doesn't work for the majority, with wealth concentrated in too few hands. It has left us with an affordability crisis where people pay over the odds for the daily basics: energy, water, transport, housing. And as privatisation improves services? No. It falls on us to show that we understand the scale of the response that this moment calls for. The Labour Party must now live up to our name. We must be the party for working people. And this government, at pace, needs to put measures in place that makes people's lives better. We need to fix the foundations of a system rigged against them. Because we know that things can be so much better than this. That is what motivated me into government, to take the collective action for the common good, for you, to give workers a fair share, to fix the foundations of a good life for working people: home, work, community. It meant being unafraid to stand up for the people that we represent against the vested interests that stand in their way, taking on the rogue landlords to pass our Renters' Rights Act, taking on the greedy freeholders with leaseholders' rights, taking on a broken housing market and bringing those decent, affordable, social and, yes, council homes on a scale never seen for a generation. Conference, that is a driver for growth, but good growth, growth that improves living standards for working people and local communities. It's why we reformed licensing and planning and took action to protect high street businesses as well as households from unfair rent hikes. It's why we not only invested more in places left behind by the Tories, but put power back in the hands of those local communities too, allowing them to own and control their assets, taking back their buses and raising their own funds to invest. We took on the vested interests and the foreign dictators interfering in our democracy and trying to buy our politics, and gave more people power at the ballot box. And of course, conference, the Employment Rights Act was the first step in our plan to make work pay. But conference, it's unfinished business. Now's the time to take the next step, starting but not ending with the Fair Pay Agreement in social care. A new partnership approach, driving up standards, improving training, and as a former home help, let me say, tackling issues like travel time as well. And as a former care worker, I stood with today's care workers last week, because fairness means enforcing the rules, not ripping them up. People who follow those rules and contribute to our society should be able to trust the system in which they work. And that is why it is time for a sector-wide visa too, not just to empower those giving the care, but to support those receiving it as well. Behind every visa is a care worker. In front of every care worker is a vulnerable person, cared for, an elderly relative maybe, a community that depends on them. Yet migrant care workers are trapped in a system that does not protect them. And because it does not protect them, it does not protect us. It is the same problem we see across the economy. It's why we need an active interventionalist government to promote good jobs that pay decent wages. When I was introducing our Employment Rights Act, we gave millions of workers higher pay, new rights and protections, an end to exploitative zero-hour contracts. And I don't reel off that list because I want to get a round of applause, although that is quite nice at conference. I do it because I want to draw some lessons. Without you, I'd have never been Labour Deputy Leader or the Deputy Prime Minister. And when I was, it was a platform shaped with you in the room. And second, it only happened despite reform. To nobody's surprise here, they voted against it at every single time. Farage is a Thatcherite, and we must never forget that. Populists populists and nationalists are not on our side, and they do not have the answers to the problems that working people face. And conference third, because if we are not proud of our Labour achievements and confident in Labour values, then why would anyone else be? We must do the right thing because we are driven to it and not because we've been dragged to it. And that is a lesson for how our party in government and the movement fight back against the hard right tide. We must show that only Labour will protect you at work, rebuild our estates, make sure that we have the council homes that people need, end the no-fault evictions, bring down the waiting list and feed our kids. We so often hear that these steps to improve our lives are impossible, or that they'll only make things worse, that we cannot stand in the way of an inevitable forces. Instead of shaping those forces, we must simply swim with the tide. Well, conference, I reject that. When I pledged an employment rights bill within 100 days, they said we couldn't do it, and we proved them wrong. Now they say that we shouldn't do it, but we must prove them wrong again. And let me start with the argument that better wages and conditions for young people are why there's not enough jobs for them and that we must retreat. Today I want to take that argument head on. I agree that the tide of young people not in employment, education or training is a genuine problem. But as Alan Milburn found, it's a long-term and structural and has been consistently higher than other countries since long before Labour took office, and let alone improve the pay for young people. It's why we didn't bring in our changes to the minimum wage overnight, but we let the Low Pay Commission do its job. And I'm passionate about getting young people, including those with disabilities or health challenges, into good jobs. But conference, abandoning our ambitions and making those jobs worse surely cannot be the way to get young people into them. And this is the wider point. Better quality jobs with stronger voice at work is the solution, not the problem. It's how we build a higher productivity, higher pay economy that we need. This should be common sense. Businesses often tell me our greatest asset is our people. And we all know from our own experience in work that we work best when we have notice of work patterns, are safe and respected in the workplace and are fairly rewarded. Where working people have money to spend, businesses grow. Where there is less temporary work, employers invest in training. Better quality jobs mean more people are able to stay in work and stay healthy. Good employers thrive as they are no longer undercut. And what's happened instead? As our rights were attacked over the last decade, productivity stagnated and ground to a halt. We have to break the cycle of squeezed living standards and weak economic growth. To those who say to me that we can't afford to make work pay, I say to them, we cannot afford not to. And conference, I say to you, let's do it together. There is no way that we would have had a New Deal or the Employment Rights Act, nor the rest of our plan to make work pay without UNISON and our trade union movement. It will be delivered with you. It was this union and the Labour government that changed my life all those years ago, that unlocked doors of opportunity that would have been closed for someone like me. In fact, it was Tory ministers at the time when I had my son that was saying girls like me, teenagers, were getting pregnant just to get a council house. That's what they thought of people like me. And when I went into a Labour government myself, I saw firsthand that when we fight for change, better things are possible. And that fight back must start now. Now, I know that this conference is an important thing that's happening this week, but there's also an election on Thursday. A choice between Andy Burnham and Nigel Farage's sexist puppet. It is a fight that we must win. But that is just the start, conference. We must finish the job on workers' rights, not shy away from taking on the union-busting bosses, create jobs that have a wage which you can live on, where you aren't afraid of facing the sack at a moment's notice, to harness the power of procurement, to reshape the economy and to unleash the biggest wave of insourcing in a generation, and to reject any bailout for the private owners of Thames Water and put it back under public control. To end rip-off rents, an exploitative leasehold system for good. Take on the vested interests who rip off working people, from bullying bailiffs to car park cowboys. Help thousands with their transport, energy and water costs. Restore our high streets and support smaller enterprises to thrive. And defend our democracy and society from any foreign dictator or fascist oligarch who seeks to divide our country and buy our politics. A country built for one interest, which should serve the British people. Conference, that's what's at stake. It's what our shared future can be if we stand and fight for our values of equality, of social justice and fairness, our Labour values, but also our British values too. So, conference, I urge you to fight with me. Let's win together. Thank you.
Angie, thank you very much.